Welcome to the latest episode of the Target Practice Podcast with Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford. This show is for insurance agents who are ready to earn more target premium by growing their practices. In addition, Charlie and Bobby will share strategies on how you can elevate your business and provide an exceptional customer experience. Now here are your hosts, Charlie and Bobby.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Target Practice Podcast with Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford. And this podcast, this has been a dream of mine for a long time. We're finally doing it, Bobby. I can't believe it's a reality. This is going to be the intro, right? This is going to be the intro on kind of what to expect from the show. And Target Practice is a podcast for insurance agents who want to earn more target premium by increasing their practice. And so this entire show is going to be for financial advisors and insurance agents. How do you build the practice of your dreams, whether you're trying to live on a beach and work 2 hours a week or never again, sell your practice, exit strategies, whatever, or you're trying to grow and build something gigantic and work 80 hours a week because that's your thing. Who cares? We're going to talk about productivity and kind of how to do either one of those things. Now, let me give a little bit of an introduction so people understand. You may have heard my other podcast, the Renovating Retirement Podcast with Charlie Jewett. It's in its fifth year, I think, maybe sixth. I can't count. I'm only in the financial services industry. Probably 5 or 6 years, 186 episodes. And that's a good podcast to listen to. It's more for consumers. So this one is really for agents. And here's who I am. In 2005, I came out of the mortgage industry and the real estate industry and said, I learned some insurance strategies for creating tax-free retirement planning and just thought, well, that's really cool. I kind of like that. I paid $6,000 to go see a teacher, teach the concepts for 3 days. I fell in love, Bobby, fell in love hard. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. You're telling me there's an educational industry. Everybody in my family's, teachers or college professors or whatever. I'm the black sheep being an entrepreneur, right? Compare salaries, teacher. Sorry, I'm going off on that, right? I like being an entrepreneur. The salary's better, but I'm in the teaching businesses. And I said, are you serious? You can really teach something to people. And when they buy, there's no cost. It's not even like a timeshare where pretend it was a good product. They paid the $45,000 and got something good, or like a Tesla. It's moving money from inferior to superior. There's no cost to the consumer. So it's a budget neutral move or improvement. And we get paid handsomely for teaching people how to help themselves, how to do better. I just thought this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I came out, I don't know how you measure if I was rookie of the year or not, but I did very well and got some nice accolades and heard nice things. That was in 2005. And over the years, I just kept learning more and kept building more. I did only insurance and then added annuities and then took planning on taxes and did tax planning in my office here in California, and then studied estate planning and had the mortgage background and the realtor background, and just ended up doing super high, fully comprehensive financial plans. And then Bobby, I got edgy, started the podcast in 2016. I was kind of tired of being in an industry where people basically lie about the stock market and they say risk with a side of fees is the answer to everything. People like Ken Fisher say things like, I hate annuities and you should too. And then you read his article and it's the worst of variable annuities, which is criminal behavior, by the way, to use your name to spread falsities about something like this. We're not even allowed to, we got compliance that tells us we can't even tell the truth, for God's sakes. I don't know how you get away with telling lies about financial products. But in an industry that's so dark, I was upset, felt like the world might need some light. The Renovating Retirement Podcast was that light to the consumer. What we're doing here is light to the agent. How do you be in an industry with a world that has changed dramatically from the days that you'd run a dinner seminar ad and 100 people would show up and you'd make $500,000 like in your sleep, just talking about whatevs. The world has changed completely, shut down for a while with COVID. I've had success through all of those seasons, 17 years now, 2,000 financial plans later. And then the new phase of my life that started a couple of years ago. Well, what if I want to come off the field at some point and not get sacked all the time, not be not be on the field as a quarterback, getting crushed for my 18th year. But what if I want to be a coach or teach some other agents? There's some amazing human beings out there that also like to tell the truth. Can I be useful in any way? And so I did some recruiting and some training and some coaching, and you happen to be one of those people. So I'm Charlie Jewett from the Renovating Retirement Podcast. I've been an independent insurance agent and financial advisor for 17 going on 18 years. Bobby, why don't you tell everybody who you are?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me to be the representative of the newer tenured agents on this in this world. You've impacted a lot of people. I'll give my brief history, but I met Charlie 18 months ago. And I say shoot because everybody says during the COVID times it's been crazy and it's like a time warp. I tell you, my entire life trajectory changed meeting this gentleman. So I'm excited to be on this call and this podcast, I should say, because this is exciting to me because we are going to change the way that agents practice their business. And the impact that I have personally seen over the last 18 months, I've only been licensed for going on 12 months. So I'm going to give you the newbie, the questions. I'm going to give you the new guy in the industry background on this part of the podcast. And I'm going to bring that kind of what was confusing to me. And Charlie will give some explanation and what didn't seem right and things that we have worked to set right in the last 12 months. But my quick background, out of high school, joined the military, did well, went in the nuclear submarine community, ended up getting a bachelor's degree in nuclear engineering, radiation health physics, went the next route as an officer, served again, ended up getting injured and getting medically separated right before the best time ever to be in the job market was 2008, 2009. That's when I came out. So what's a guy to do when he's coming out of the military? You immediately join corporate America because structure to structure, right? I come from a family of entrepreneurs. And if you look me up on LinkedIn or anything else, you'll see some of my background. I work with business owners because I love them. The two groups of people that I focus most on are business owners and veterans. Obviously, I'm very partial to both. And then fast forward, 7-8 years, I'm working in corporate America. I'm loving it. The sexiest industry in the world, HVAC. That's where I was working in the commercial HVAC.
It's hot. It's hot.
It's hot. It is. Some of the greatest human beings from the military. I have amazing relationships and everything from there. From corporate America, I never even thought about it, but some of the greatest human beings I've ever worked with and known have taught me so much going through that route. And then come pre-COVID, I had some family stuff. I moved down to Florida. I spent some time here and got everybody back up and we were moving. And that's when COVID hit. So that's when everybody started looking for what they want to do with their lives, right? And I started working with veterans to help them with their retirements. I had been digging into this space for a while, and I know personally that veterans with a pension will forever be taxed. So when I started doing some research, started looking for ways to maximize veteran retirements, which are not much. If you don't know, they're not much, and started looking for ways to help them maximize it. I happened to find the Renovating Retirement podcast. I happened to find Charlie Jewett. He and I hit it off. And I've learned at his feet and his right hand for the last year. And I will tell you on this podcast, we are going to be very forthcoming. On this podcast, I'll be the first time I've told Charlie 1 year with him, making $200,000 in the first year. And that is joint work all the way. That is split cases. Yeah, split cases. Split cases all the way. That is doing right by clients. We're going to talk about what we've created for clients in another episode, but it has been game changing. Not only financially, that's wonderful, but for the clients that we have impacted, we have changed their entire lives. And that has been so exciting. So that's my background. Credentialed, got all the things, got the MBA, didn't go get the Series 7, Series 65. I've chosen not to manage money. Strictly an insurance guy. So I'm going to give you that perspective as well. Yep. But Charlie, why don't you give an overview about how we're going to lay this podcast out?
Yeah, so every episode is going to fall into one of the three categories, and the three main categories, from my point of view, there's probably different points of views. That's fine, but it doesn't matter. One of the things I love about podcasts is it's your own soapbox. You get to say whatever you want, right? What we're doing here is talking about the three categories of marketing. So anything, and this is a giant category, right? Anything that gets the person to raise their hand and say, tell me more, over the phone, by Zoom, in person, anything, even referrals to some sense, right? So marketing is one category. Sales is another category. How do you take, what is sales in my point of view? Sales is helping people to know what they should do or want to do. And then the hard part, getting them to do what they should or want to do. If it's bad for them, getting them is immoral. So I'm not afraid to talk about being an influencer or helping someone make a decision or using the laws of persuasion and things like that. When it is good for them, you do want to persuade. We all know about the terrible reputation that salespeople have and persuading people to do things that aren't good for them, but that's the key. Mm-hmm. What everyone needs in their life is a very persuasive person getting them off their butt to do what's best for them. It's a loving industry when you're offering what's good. And let me just give you a secret here, by the way. If you're really good at sales, if you really learn how to communicate well, almost all marketing will work. I've been in this space now for, I think, 18 years. And all you hear is, dinner seminars don't work and online leads don't work and this doesn't work and that doesn't. I mean, I was in some terrible systems, like horrible systems. You get 10 preset appointments a week and they gave them some fake free trip card just to get them to meet with you. The person doesn't even want to be there, and still shot up to number 1 or number 2 in the company. And some of my best clients came from there because here's the thing. When the curtain opens, the movie is either Titanic or Waterworld. Well, if you know those two movies, and I actually like Waterworld, but it's not like it didn't win any awards, right? My point is someone decides when it's ready. If you're a chef, you put the food out, and if it's burned and you put it out anyway, that's on you, right? Someone decides when this thing is ready. And Titanic, when somebody's watched it, this is incredible. And it was, right? What I'm saying is you want to be the Michael Jordan of retirement planning. You want to be Ritz-Carlton. We're going to get you to the point where you're so good that all marketing works, because marketing creates a human that goes, tell me what you've got. And when you're good at the sales and marketing, and you'll see you can help pretty much everybody. Here's the category. Here's the minimum requirements to be helped by a good insurance agent or financial advisor. You have to have saved money somewhere, or be saving money somewhere, or want to be saving money somewhere. Those are the 3 categories. So if somebody calls you up and says, hi, I hate money, don't make any, don't have any, don't want any when I'm 65. That one tiny category of weirdos, you can't help them. And it doesn't take long. You say, bye. I don't help that person. It's like starting a vegan grocery store and somebody calls up and says, I'm a carnivore. I only eat meat. What's the only meat guy? Not a carnivore, but
yeah, carnivore. Yeah.
I'm a carnivore. I thought carnivore was somebody that also ate meat. Not just like solely a carnivore, no vegetables, no fruit. You're not going to go to the vegan grocery store, right?
Yep.
But the market is so big for what we do. There's no cost to the consumer. Everybody knows that. You're moving money from inferior to superior. What does that mean? This industry literally is about communication, education, and persuasion and perception management, how they feel during it. That's sales. My point is, if you're good at sales, which we're going to teach you, all marketing will work for you because it's humans saying, can you help me? Third category, so we have marketing and sales. Third category is customer service.
And real quick, let me interject there. One thing that drew me to Charlie, and hopefully will draw you to this podcast, I'm going to add on to what he said, which is everyone needs a salesperson who can communicate and persuade them to the right thing. But I will add that person must be ethical. And that person cannot be looking out for themselves. They need to be looking out for the client with and using their persuasion for that end goal. And that's exactly where Charlie and I resonate. And that's why I wanted to add that cliff note was everyone needs in their life a persuasive person that's going to do right by them, not by the salesman's part.
Right.
So,
and
just at one point.
No, I'm actually glad you interjected because I forgot. Language is such a big part of this. My other podcast is Where to Learn Language. We'll certainly talk about it here, but I have entire groups of insurance agents, entire offices that aren't on my team that are totally independent that I don't even know that train their agents using the Renovating Retirement podcast because you get the language. I'm learning Spanish right now at a really fast clip, as you know, and you just have to consume mass quantities of spoken and heard and written words to learn an entire language. That's why it takes kids 4 years or whatever, you have to hear so much of it. This is the same. I did a podcast episode called RSL, Retirement as a Second Language, but that show, really listening to the show trains people to know what to say. Now you used it to some degree while you were, making this $200,000. Or what role do you feel like learning to say things this way, the way that we teach, or learning to say things in particular ways, what role do you think that plays in success?
So one part that I kind of glossed over was my time in corporate America. I was in sales and I was in operations and in finance, but I spent a lot of time in sales. And you can be successful in sales as long as you can speak that industry's language. Now, you can communicate, you can persuade, all those things are just across the board, no matter what you're selling, widgets to washing machines to space shuttles. But the goal is to communicate in the appropriate language, right? If I tell you a space shuttle is the most amazing, whiteboard eraser, it doesn't make sense, right? So if we start speaking in the language that the Renovating Retirement podcast puts together, that to me was like a boot camp for languaging this industry and communicating the points that we are so fluent in now. I mean, I say we, I'm a year into this, and I can speak circles around most financial advisors in regards to how to make the client's life better. Now, that's not a challenge. Charlie will challenge you, but that's not a challenge for me. I'm simply saying the language will position you differently than every other advisor. And by being able to communicate it and using the Renovating Retirement podcast, using this podcast, figuring out if you're new to the industry or not, adding 2-3% to your arsenal in a different language is a game changer. You go to Mexico and you can't ask where the bathroom is. That's a game changer, right? So being able to speak just a little bit in the correct terminology is huge. And that's what this podcast did for me, Charlie.
And we'll talk about that because every one of my client meetings starts with R3 systems. No one has to use R3 systems, but coming up with something like this that's yours or using someone else's is important, because the most important thing in sales is looking different, not being better. Yep. If you tell them your advisor sucks, I'm better, I do the same thing, but I'm better, they're not going to switch. If they see something completely different, you never go home and tell your spouse, I got coffee today, it tasted exactly the same. It was incredible. It tastes exactly the same, right? You're going to say, I got coffee and there was a hair in it. There was a bug in there or whatever. Or they forgot the sugar, whatever. Something different wakes up your brain. You need to be different. The way that we do it, hey, here's our 3 models, 3 types of money: in case account, income account, increase account. The biggest mistake people make in retirement is they don't have an income account. Paycheck goes away. They try to live off their increase account. It goes bad. We also have the 5 lives of retirement. How do you know if your financial plan is going to make it or not? Let's stress test that thing. Is it going to make it if you have a long life, short life, rough life, sick life, or just die and move peacefully into the next life? The 5 lives of retirement test tells you whether you're going to be okay. Let's test your current plan. Tells you whether to stay with your advisor or not. And then let's test the one that we build and make sure it's going to take care of you. All of a sudden, I'm only two systems in. They're thinking this is different. This is different. And we say, and then we come around after that every single year. Take care of you with the merit planning model for continual improvement. Look at the 5 different pieces of your finances: the mortgage plan, estate plan, retirement plan, insurance plan, and tax plan. Make sure that everything is always up to date. There is no perfect system, but that system, those 13 things we've found, take care of people so much better than buying more mutual funds, crossing your fingers and saying, I sure hope the market is nice to me.
Absolutely.
That language and having something that makes you different, that is part of the sales. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. What's the very first thing they see when you show up after marketing is done and they say, tell me more? What's the more you tell them first? If the more you tell them first is same old, and it's not different, it's not shocking in a beautiful way, they're not really going to be drawn into that second date. So we'll talk about that later on. But the podcast is a place to go practice that kind of language and talk over it or write it down or replay it, stuff like that. So Third category, marketing, sales, or customer service and client retention. Now, I happen to think that these 3 categories actually might be more like 5, or the second 2 categories may be able to, we can break them down. These are our opinions, not industry. Marketing's marketing. Marketing's just everything. I knew an agent that would call rich people's offices and get the gatekeeper, whether it's a secretary or whatever we're allowed to call those people today, whoever they are, the person that answers the phone that's not the badass we're looking for, right? They call them up, say, when's this person's next trip? I'm going to buy him a first-class ticket. I'm going to buy her a first-class ticket. They'd buy the ticket, pay for it, and then buy the one next to the person. And all they did was fly first class and talk to rich people. We obviously know people that play golf all day, and we know people that do dinner seminars. You could actually throw parties with Dan Allison stuff and the what does he call that? I'm drawing a blank.
So the Rainmaker
groups. Yeah, the focus group strategies, and he's got a name for his book that I'm drawing a blank on. We'll probably have Dan on the show, by the way. But through focus groups, feedback marketing. Through feedback marketing, you could spend very little in money and spend time and get all kinds of leads. Marketing is marketing. Somebody raises their hand and says, tell me more. In the sales world, we have learned 2,000 financial plans later and working with all these different people and in different groups. I've had a huge company with lots of people. I've had tiny little groups, tiny teams. I think there's two pieces to the sales. There is getting them to get the divorce and then getting them to marry you. What do I mean by that? They're leaving something. Sometimes it's a person. I don't know if you've noticed, it is really hard for people to tell their current advisor, I don't want you anymore. Break it up is hard to do. I don't understand it. I don't know why. I've never had to do it as a consumer. I'm telling you from seeing it, it is hard for people to say no to somebody, even though it's a profession. This is business, not personal. The industry has tried to make it about going to people's funerals and playing golf with them and buying them dinner. You just see the commercials. Your financial advisor is supposed to be at every event, for heaven's sakes, right? Were they there when you were making the baby? What is wrong here? Like, when are they supposed to be there and when are they not? This is a professional arrangement, like a surgery. I don't care who my surgeon is, just be good. I really don't care who the realtor is. I don't want to hate them, but the house I have to live in for the rest of my life is more important than the realtor. Mm-hmm. You're going to learn to use some of the language that's not all about you. Trust me, I'm the greatest, But they're going to leave something. And it's either the strategies they're used to, having all their money in the market normally, or an inferior annuity or life insurance policy on 1035 exchanges, or they're going to leave a human. It has become my personal opinion, and you know this in some of our lead generation systems, we don't even call it a lead until they've left those people, sold their stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and moved them, and they're sitting inside of a credit union or a bank. Mm-hmm. Then they say, I would like to use other strategies. And that's when part two comes, which is case design or designing the plan. What most people think of as sales, getting them to say yes to the annuity or insurance product or alternative investments and sign paperwork, we're actually calling fulfillment, kind of part two. It is sales. You can't lose them. You have to give the person, somebody walks on the scene and says, I'm buying a car today, and you don't sell them a car today, you did something wrong, man, right? You need to give them what they want. So it is part of sales, but we're breaking that up into two pieces, which is move the money and design the plan. Now, unless you're using leads from us or, like you have that same thing set up, you don't need to do it that way, but just understand that's why I see that as two categories. And we will talk about them as different on the episodes. And then customer service, I think is also two parts. Why? Because customer service doesn't start at delivery when the policy's done. It more starts at applications. For instance, in our world, in my world for a long time, I don't take applications. I don't want to do that part. I want to go see another family or do more marketing, right? That, and by the way, guess what's normally a huge part of that? Moving the money, which is horrible, right? If the money's already, let's pretend you haven't moved the money like we do. You've got to move the money the old traditional way where the insurance company asks for it and they fight back and forth for 3 months, right? So you do, I'm exaggerating, but that model, that underwriting experience is not fun for anyone. The agent,
nobody involved.
Nobody likes it. It's horrible. It's paperwork, nuisance, downtime. Have you ever noticed that if you don't tell people what you're doing, they think you're doing nothing, right? If you go 4 to 6 weeks and don't tell the client, like, insurance companies are horrible and don't do anything quickly, and they fight us, or your brokerage account is fighting us. They don't want us to move the money. But that experience, what it feels like, is the beginning of customer service. Mm-hmm. You will not get referrals if you do what they want. You give them what they want, but it doesn't feel good. Referrals are not going to come from a satisfactory product or result. The referrals will only come from a surprisingly pleasant or a surprisingly shocking positive surprises. That's where raving fans come from, is how they feel while you're giving them what they want and deserve. Like, giving them what they want. Nobody talks about that. I ordered a steak and they brought a steak. Can you believe it? No one says that, right? I ordered a steak, right? And there was one piece of it on the right-hand side that was a little bloody. I sent it back. They sent it back and they gave me the 36 ounce. You know what I mean? I had a 12 ounce. They gave me the 36 as an apology. Now you're telling all your friends, right?
Yep. And language again, we call that perception management, right? Perception
management.
Because whatever the client, I've been saying this for years in sales, whatever the client perceives or whatever the client feels is what happened. Whether you told them the correct thing or did the correct thing, whatever they think happened is what happened, because that's all that matters.
And I don't care if you're doing laundry in the river with your neighbors, or you have a washing machine, you're sitting watching soap operas eating bonbons, right? Something has to clean the clothes, whether it's a machine or you with effort. There's an outcome. There's a result that must happen in this industry to get more referrals, to make it where people clone themselves and you get the really easy business and the ongoing perpetual marketing that is really attractive, right? Mm-hmm. And that is how they feel. There has to be a system, whether manual or machine, that creates as its outcome them feeling surprised, kept in touch with, well taken care of, that we are professional and happy, or else they won't talk, right? Yes. They will not talk about it. I've had professionals in my life that I've had to refer like this. She's incredible, but you will hate her. Like, she's going to do an incredible job, but she's not going to answer you. I mean, I might be one of those, you know what I mean? Like, at times I think that's me, right? And this is why I have a team of people that make people feel good. They're not just good at their job, right? Like I am, right? But they create perceptions, and it brings them energy to do that. Well, I'm probably a good example. If you aren't that person, you need a machine or a human or some system that you run. That is an outcome that must be there, and most people just skip that. They just don't do that. So that part, that's why I think that the second half, or the customer service, has two parts, and so does sales. Now, so what we're going to do, we're going to wrap this up. But this is the Target Practice Podcast. I don't know how much money it's going to make you. You tell me in a year, right? We'll have all kinds of incredible episodes coming up focused on marketing or sales, customer service, which then turns into more marketing because you're actually creating future business. Every person, every single client you get in the future might get an inheritance. They may change jobs, and the 401k that you can't touch right now becomes available. They may marry someone else. They may divorce someone else. They may sell a house, and you have the opportunity to talk to them about not making large down payments and killing your sheep and having money that never compounds again for the rest of your life, just to avoid cheap financing that's tax deductible. Duh, right? There's a whole world of future business from every human if you just don't offend them and you stay on top of mind. And from time to time, if you do want to use feedback marketing or referral strategies, you check in with them and ask, would it be okay with you if I did X, Y, Z? And if you don't like doing it, have someone on your team who does it like we do, right? But that's what we're doing.
And that's something we're going to unpack. Each one of those strategies, every one of those strategies can make you money. On this practice, on this Target Practice Podcast, we believe all of it can work. We're going to unpack ways to make it all work. Whatever fits you, that's what you should lean into. And we're going to unpack ways to make each one of those things work. If you want to send out mailers, if you want to do webinars, if you want to do dinner seminars, if you want to do referral marketing and take over somebody's book of business, all of it works. We're just going to give you the tips, pros and cons, and tips to make them work for you. You find the one that fits and double down.
Exactly. All right. And I've done lots of them. And we'll continue to do it because I don't want a referral-based business. I don't want 100% referrals because I'm a marketer. I get bored. I like the hunting. I'm an investor. I want to spend money and have it come back bigger. And then when the people come along and say, well, you never have to do that. If you just get Aunt Jemima, or not Aunt Jemima, you just get Aunt Susie, and Aunt Susie will send you over to her sister, send you over to here. And I'm like, well, then when do I get to be an investor? When do I get to be a marketer? That sounds like all I ever do is just talk to aunts. Right. Yep. Some people like that. But as an investor, I like testing marketing systems. And so I do. And therefore, I have a lot of feedback on what's been out there. So look for some upcoming episodes that are coming out pretty soon. I don't know the frequency yet, but it'll be often, and they will be awesome. And we will see you there.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to the Target Practice Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have time, please subscribe to the podcast and consider rating and reviewing the show. We'd sure appreciate it. And for show notes, resources, and to connect, shoot on over to targetpracticepodcast.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Target Practice Podcast.